one of these power slap videos, they have like 222 million views. Like, if you see someone's face bleeding and a hand on their face, like, are you gonna like swipe away? So the content was there, right? And I filmed it, and it was crazy. I had a full access pass, able to go to locker rooms, all that. In my head, I'm like, how cool would it be to meet Dana White, like the owner of the UFC? Like, he's there. And funny enough, I took a picture of him, looked at me, smiled. I'm like, all right, like, I got to go talk to this guy.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Shells and Shadows. Today I have Noah Weiss with me. Noah Weiss is a photographer finding his way in the world, following his vision, and really making a name for himself today. After graduating college only, less than a year ago, Noah has gone on to pursue his dreams, and I want to talk about it now. I want to understand who is Noah Weiss. So
For sure. I appreciate you having me here. You're like a great friend of mine, so it's cool to like come visit and talk about this.
absolutely, man. It's a good surprise visit too. I didn't know you were coming until a few days ago, but
Yeah,
I'm glad we got to make it work and have you on the show.
perfect.
So let's get right into it. Noah, you graduated college last May, and since you've moved out to Salt Lake City, tell me about your new life and how it differs, honestly, from college life.
Yeah, well, college was great. Like, the social scene here is incredible. I just moved to Salt Lake. It's awesome. I'm doing an internship with the Utah Jazz and Hockey Club, doing videography and photography. Um, yeah, it's definitely different socially, but it's really cool being able to pursue my dream and passion over there, nevertheless.
Yeah, as your friend, I feel like I get to watch your story unfold almost, and see that you're in the middle of it right now. You've finished college, you've chosen to maybe not go the traditional path of following a career and using your degree, but following your heart almost. And I'm watching you kind of in the middle of that, build a life for yourself and build your dream. So, where did this dream start of photography?
Yeah, so it started a while ago. I was 13 years old. Um, Actually, I give a lot of credit to my parents for this, but when I was getting bar mitzvahed, I had a bar mitzvah project. And for those of you who don't know, basically like an act of like a good deed, a righteous act or something like that, while in celebration of a bar mitzvah. And part of this was like, I didn't want to just volunteer at the soup kitchen or do like the ordinary thing. Um, and I had a camera at the time, a Canon Rebel T3i, like really cheap body at the time. Um, I'm like, oh, like, well, what if I can use like my photography to like help make a difference in a way? My grandpa on my dad's side, who's no longer alive, he was a Holocaust survivor, and I thought, what more of like a meaningful contribution than selling my services and like helping donate to the nearby like Holocaust memorial like in my city. So I took pictures of like flowers and acorns and whatever was like outside my house. Um, and yeah, I sold them at my temple, made made a little profit, donated it. And that was kind of like the start of it all.
And getting deep really quickly here
Yeah.
with you on that one, it's very ironic to me that something that you, not ironic actually, something that you have taken and you've made a career out of now started not by you pursuing money, but by actually you pursuing charity.
Right.
And now
Yeah.
it's something that you do because you're passionate about it. But I think it shows that it's never been about the outcome for you. You're willing to give it all away. You love doing this thing,
Yeah.
your craft.
I'd say like I'm very like process driven. And I love like I love the editing at late nights and weird hours and missing out on, whatever parties it is to shoot this event or that event. Um, it's like an art to me, and I really find like satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, no, I know that photography hasn't always been the center of your world. I know it was, like you said, when you were around 13,
Yeah.
and it is now, but there's a gap in there. How did going through school, going to university, influence your life path and your direction, what you thought you wanted? Do you feel like it swayed you your environment swayed you in a certain way?
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll say this. I definitely had a bit of imposter syndrome, I guess you could say, like in middle school to high school. So I stopped taking pictures and picking up the camera, just collecting dust at a point. But around like sophomore year of college, um, I don't know, was in a frat, hanging out with like people, doing like the whole social scene. It was fun. Um, but I guess like how my environment affected it. Like I was a product design major. I was always like fascinated by like making fidget spinners and stuff. It's so cool. But then I was like really pulled back to like my initial passion. Um, I was like thinking it would be really like unfortunate to not try and go like all out with this and like really do something you love. Like you hear people say like, "Oh, you work 80% of your life." So that kind of is daunting, like imagine doing something you absolutely hate for such a long period.
Absolute misery. Sounds
Abs-
terrible.
Sounds horrible. So that terrified me, but motivated me at the same time.
I always have to remember that we're lucky enough to follow our dreams. And we have to remember that we come in a long line of people who sacrificed a lot for us to have the freedom to be able to, for me, it's sit in front of a mic and host a podcast. For you, it's to be able to follow your dream of photography. How do you feel like your family has helped you achieve this dream as well?
Like I've been super blessed, super lucky. Like my my family is like they're my biggest supporters. Um, Especially pushing me to do very like unconventional things, reaching out to people for different gigs or whatever, um, and pushing me to not just do it for the money, but it was very discouraging hearing other people tell me, "Oh, like you're doing this stuff for free. Like, what's wrong with you?" But my parents and my brother have been like very supportive, saying like, "Do it. Like, you have nothing to lose by doing this." So
Nothing to lose. And I come back to something that Theo and I talked about if you watched that episode, fear of wondering what could have been. And
exactly,
that's a theme that's come up a few times on the show now.
yeah,
You looked that decision in the eyes and you said, okay, I'm studying product design. I know what it's about. It's comfortable for me. It's logical. I have a career path set out for me, but I'm still going to follow my heart.
exactly, yeah.
How do you, on a day to day basis, I guess, find comfort and security knowing that you're following a more adventurous path rather than one that feels more logical and stable?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely risk involved. It's not comfortable by any means, but if you care enough, you'll make it happen. It's your podcast previously is like if you can endure any why or what was it? It's like
He who has a why can bear almost any how.
right. So it's like if you have such a strong why, and I feel like it applies to really anything. If you have such a strong why, then you're gonna make it happen. And on a daily basis, like that's what motivates me. It's like you look at the why. Maybe some days you're not feeling it, but like you'll always like circulate back to that.
So, what is your why in the most simplest, watered down form in a single sentence, I guess?
My why is to maximize my happiness for myself and others in a creative way.
Wow. And you do that through photos.
Photo, whatever. But I like for me it's photo. For someone else it might be cooking, right? Um, but I feel like when you think about it, everyone is seeking when it comes to like their why or passion. The commonality is everyone wants to find happiness. Who doesn't want to find happiness?
Yeah, and almost when I look at your photos and the things you're producing, whether it's a concert or a basketball game or grad photos, you're telling a story. You're capturing moments of other people's lives, and you're almost taking the preciousness and the beauty of a moment, and you're putting it in a form that is timeless, and you're giving it to the world. Um, what do you? I guess because when I see your photos, that's how I view it. Almost like a very romantic lens of capturing a moment in time.
Yeah, sure.
Do you talk about that? About what photographing means to you with like your coworkers, and is that something that's talked about in your field?
Honestly, like I feel like people who are in the field kind of have this like underlying like commonality with like the reason. Like, sure, we all like to tell stories and whatever. For me, it is that, but I also just like looking at cool photos. Like who like sees a insane photo of like a mountain and reacts to it like, oh, like there's a story, like it's just like cool. Like enjoy it for like what it is and like you know what I mean?
A very simple view.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. How have you dealt with rejection as a
Rejection.
photographer?
Um, it's happened way too much. So I'm kind of desensitized to it now, but especially in college where I began photographing concerts, I always like saw cool concert photographs on Instagram. I'm like, oh, like I want to do that. So I'd reach out to artists, managers, whatever. I always knew like there was amazing lighting to be chased in that field. Um, and rejection happens so much. I've literally counted over 1,000 emails sent, not including Instagram DMs, and probably like under 3% answer, um, which is absolutely insane. I feel like you just got to take it on the chin. And when you do have one hit, it's like the best feeling.
And all you need is that one hit.
And yeah, that one hit can change the course of your life.
So what's an example of a one hit, the one thing that landed for you that took you to that next step where you needed to go?
Well, I think there have been a couple, but a big one was the first concert I photographed. This artist Aldi Miola in Boulder Theater, like right near my college campus. Um, I reached out. They provided me a photo pass. I did it for free, and going into it, like I saw he was like a jazz guitarist type of vibe. I've watched like so many YouTube videos about like etiquette of like, oh, like don't get in people's ways, whatever. This one, I totally screwed up. Like I was walking back and forth. Like I guess I was a distraction. One of the one of the promoters was like, hey, like you're getting in people's ways. Like you need to leave. And I like my heart like dropped. I was this is like the first time I've done this, and I'm like this isn't for me. But a big thing about that is I still turned around the photos. Um, I apologized, and I didn't let that discourage me. And that was like a big lesson I learned from that is like I kept going, and if I wouldn't have kept going, like that would have been it. Um, yeah, so just how to deal with rejection, not only over email, but face to face in a way.
Because you're bound to mess up.
Yeah, everyone messes up.
Yeah.
It's inevitable, but it's like how you can deal with that.
Because you could have easily taken that and felt guilty and felt shameful about the way you were acting and let it prevent you from doing it again.
Exactly.
And you'd be robbing the world of the gift that you have to give.
It that would have been one of the worst things I could have done for myself.
But you moved through it, and I know there's been other examples of those turning point moments, right, where it hits right when you need it to in the right way. What's
Yeah.
been an example of almost like a breakthrough? You've experienced rejection. You keep moving, and then something happens, and it shifts your direction.
Yeah,
Has
I
there
think
been moments of that for you?
um again there have been several. I think one of the coolest moments that I was like really like I was so happy about this. I reached out to this artist, rapper Key Glock. I reached out to his tour manager, and I reached out to him on DM like 3 times after he didn't answer me this first two. Emailed him multiple times. Finally followed up, gave me like a full backstage access pass to Red Rocks. And this is crazy because I've shot Red Rocks before, but I've never gotten the full experience of going in the tunnel, um, like being with the artists, like the openers, like Big X a plug, Young Nudie. Uh, they were there. It's crazy. It's a crazy experience. But I turned around the photo. I remember I was driving back and there was traffic and I was editing in my car, like on the way back. Like I was so excited to get these photos back. I was literally editing in traffic. I've never done that before. Um, but because of that quick turnaround time, I shared him back to his team and he reposted 2 of my pictures on his Instagram. And like as a photographer, like that's like the best feeling when the artist or the client like shares your work, especially one who has like such a big following. Um, and it was just like really cool to have all these people reach out and like see and give me like the validation of my work, which I'm like confident in, but it's always nice when you hear other people talk about it.
Yeah, because you want to also be recognized in some way. You're not,
Yeah.
again, you did it for free for so long. You provided your service. You said, this is just a stepping stone on my path to making a name for myself and making a career out of this. But when you do get that recognition, like, hell yeah, you deserve it,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. You've written a book, and many 22-year-olds can't say that they have. Tell me about your book. Why'd you decide to write it?
Yeah. Many people don't know this about me, like under a handful of people. But during my capstone project, my senior year of product design, um, everyone was creating and designing products, whether it was laser cutting stuff, 3D printing, all this. But I was never really attracted to that. So I pitched to my professor, I want to make a photography book because that's what I'm passionate about. I don't see how anything else is gonna benefit me or really anyone else for that sake. Um, but I really felt drawn to making a book, not just of cool photos, but being an example as at the time a 21-year old of how I've moved through and you capitalized on this passion of mine at a young age. Not to define success in terms of like monetary value or numbers or whatever, but more of the gratification of the process and the journey and what it takes. So this was 163 pages, text and pictures. Um, got 5 physical copies. I was really happy about it. Still have work to do on it. right after I took more photos that I was even more proud of that I want to include and tell the story about those experiences.
And I've read some of your book. I still have to read the rest of it. I'll
Hmm.
need a copy of it.
For sure.
All right. So I want to shift gears a little bit now. We've talked about where you've come from, your college career, how it's shifted into what you're doing now. And now you're working for the Utah Jazz. Many photographers can only dream of working for an NBA team, and that's the life you're living. How did you get there?
Yeah, this was I couldn't mention just getting here without mentioning this internship I had at CU. One of the most incredible experiences I've had. I through all the concerts I shot, I found out my senior year, oh my God, like I can take pictures of sports at the like college level. Like that's insane. Like I've always like wanted to do that. I just never knew how. Um, so after doing that, I focused like more on photo. I did basketball. I did a little bit of volleyball, but I was like still focused on photo. Um, I was always really hesitant about video though. My last semester, I met other students, other staff members who were so welcoming and great mentors. Uh, I just focused solely on video, and I was always told like if you just do one thing, like it's going to be really hard to like branch out and get other opportunities. So I was just really focused on editing, less shooting at the time, but I was able to develop a portfolio of some basketball edits, CU Buffs track, whatnot, and from then I was just applying to all these sports jobs during the summer. Um, before I got this internship with the Jazz, I spent this summer still seeking another opportunity. I didn't feel confident and I didn't have the experience to I knew I didn't have what I needed to have to show to like potential hiring managers. I ended up reaching out to have you heard of Power Slap?
Um, I haven't.
Okay, Power Slap is it's the most nutty sport ever. It's like brand new. Um, owner of the UFC like has now owned it. These guys just slap each other like across the face till knockout. It's like the most hilarious thing ever. I was like, my dad was like, you should reach out to them. Like that'd be crazy. Like who's reaching out to Power Slap? Like no one. So I after like digging and digging, I finally found a contact. They provided me again. I did this all for free. I was just like in it for like the portfolio piece. I flew to Vegas this past June for Power Slap 8. Stayed in the Fontainebleau Hotel. This place is nuts. Like 30 restaurants, like it's huge. It's massive. Like I've never experienced something like this.
You were traveling for work, living the dream of a travel photographer.
Yeah, exactly. But this time I'm doing video and like I'm still not fully confident, but I'm like I'm just going to try it. Like so I like pitched them like what I could provide, photo, video, all that. I get there. This place is like it's crazy. Like an environment I've never been in before with like the most amount of like celebrities, like media, like whatever. Like all these like streamers on YouTube you've heard of. Um, anyways, I get there. I'm in the hotel by myself. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like this feels like so weird, but like it feels so right. Um, this is like one of my most pivotal moments. Um, I because when you watch like one of these Power Slap videos, they have like 222 million views. Like if you see someone's face bleeding and a hand on their face, like are you gonna like swipe away? So the content was there, right? And I filmed it and it was crazy. I had a full access pass, able to go to locker rooms, all that. In my head, I'm like, how cool would it be to meet Dana White, like the owner of the UFC? Like he's there. And funny enough, I took a picture of him, looked at me, smiled. I'm like, all right, like I got to go talk to this guy. So I go up, like just said, hey, like so excited to be here shooting content for you. Um, like I love this stuff. Like take a look at my work. Like
You just went up to him.
I just went up to him. I didn't even think twice about it. Like whatever. And he's like really like, he's like very appreciative. Like I went up to him, I shook his hand, told him like what I'm about. He's like, listen, like I'm gonna be gone for like 4th of July. Like let's like talk about like doing some work after. And it's like at that point I'm like, oh my God, like this was all worth it.
Because many people wouldn't go up to him.
Yeah. And like the odds of like being in the same room is like those like A tier list celebrities in a way. It's like rare. But yeah, I was like so excited. Unfortunately, like emails have gotten lost in translation and inboxes, but how that segues into the Utah Jazz. I had this really sick video I made, turned it around to Power Slap, and that was like one of the main talking points when I was like showing potential employers. They're like, "Oh, like you did Power Slap? What? Like this is sick." So now I'm doing a video production internship, less focused on photo, more on video. Um, and yeah, just learning so much every day.
Well, Dana White, if you're seeing this, you and Noah Weiss have some business to finish. Looks like you guys have to go into some more Power Slap
Exactly.
content together. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you expanded your skill set. You
Yeah.
went from
And
photo to now video, and you learned as you went.
yeah. And I think that's what it's about. It's not just sticking again to what you're comfortable with, but you got to like push out of your comfort zone. And for me, that was video. Um, Whoever's watching, whoever's doing one thing, maybe like think about, oh, like, how do I think out of the box? How do I diversify my skill set and what I'm doing? And like, how can I be a resource to others?
So walk me through a little bit. You touched on imposter syndrome and that feeling that I'm in a room with a lot of important people. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't have the skills. Where did you go in your mind at that moment when you start to feel, wow, this isn't for me. I'm out of place. Who am I to be
Yeah.
in a room with Dana White and others? Where'd you go from there mentally?
Yeah. I feel like it's a continuous, curve of learning and growing. And when you keep, improving upon your work, like that, the top of your work is like your new baseline, right? And then you're comparing it to like people whose work is even better and better, right? So I feel like it's something you just have to settle with in a way, and just like, you got to stop comparing yourself to others and just focus on what's important to you and your own progress. So I hope that answers your question. It's more general rather than specific to that one experience.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Because if you're just looking at outcome and you're not focusing on all the progress you've made, you're going to lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So in the bigger picture of Noah Weiss, what's next?
What's next? Well, I have a little bit more of this internship left where I'm not only doing video with the Jazz, but also the hockey club, which is like a brand new NHL team. Really cool to be in it, like at ground zero. They came from Arizona, but now it's like a whole new franchise. Would love to keep working with them and just like see where it goes, improve my skills, and just keep making cool stuff.
And cool stuff, it doesn't need to be the most extravagant work. I mean, you take pride in every single game, just taking the pictures that you need to take, taking the video you need to take, seeing the results, seeing it improve the team. And you're also part of a team that's growing, which is not something that many photographers and videographers for NHL teams can say. I mean, you started with the team as it started.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like there's like a team of over like 20 people for like this concentrated stuff. So right now it's like people who are working with jazz are doing with hockey and vice versa, and it's just like expanding. It's so cool to like collaborate with like so many different brains in that like creative space.
So, what was it like? You know, you're a new photographer in the industry with a new team. Right? They've never had a fan base before. They've never had a team for themselves before. How is that giving you an insight into this whole world, this whole industry, building something, putting roots down as they're doing it as well?
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much about just marketing in general. Like, I always looked at like video and photos more of like an art form rather than like the business marketing side, which is so cool to like see photos used for like banners or sponsorship videos or like whatever it is. Like like visually seeing like the real life application, like especially for a new team, right? Like because it's all like branding and like ticket sales and all those sorts of things. So that's like a big thing I've been learning and like appreciating out of all this.
You don't realize how much labor and manpower goes in to
Oh,
running a team.
there's like a team and a person for everything. It's insane. Whether it's like flipping the court to the ice, like there's a whole team to do that. Marketing, like there's everything. It's a world I've like never I was never exposed to before this.
Well, great, Noah. Well, I'm sure you have many, many, many more years of providing this service to the world. I want to leave everyone with a message, and I want you to share a message of something of words of wisdom, words of hope or inspiration for other young photographers or entrepreneurs in any field, in any art form for that matter, that are hesitant. Do I go the traditional path, or do I go out on a limb? Do I follow my heart? Do I follow my dreams? Give some influence. How do they make that decision?
Yeah, I think like you just do it. Like have no hesitation. If you like something, act upon it immediately, or else these ideas are gonna fade. It's pretty insane where an email could take you or a DM could take you, whatever it is. Um, just keep pushing for more. It's really cool to see the growth and looking back on it. Um, and if you're doing something you love, it really will never feel like work, whether you're doing it at unconventional hours or approaching your work in like ways people have never done before. I think that's like the best part. If it hasn't been done before, it most likely is or could be an excellent idea. So don't discredit that.
Well, Noah, I'm glad to see you following your heart and your path and your dreams. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing some words of wisdom and inspiration from your experience.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
All right, man. Well, best of luck to you. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.